It's perfectly fine to feel anger. I still feel anger all the time. But you have to be able to take that energy and channel it. What's up, everybody? Thank you for attending. Today I'm going to be talking about anger, really what it is, what it does to us, and how we can learn to control it. So let's get straight into it. Of course, in our lives, anger is a natural emotion to feel. It developed from our ancient caveman ancestors. We had to feel anger to fight off a bear or a tiger. You had to have that aggression inside of you. When you move into a state of anger, you're releasing cortisol and noradrenaline. So your fight or flight is turned on when you go into anger. So it's the same thing as stress, essentially. So you're stressing yourself out. So you'll experience brain fog, faster aging, different things like this that will wreck your health mentally and physically. So when you think of anger, think of it like a poison. Mark Twain once said that anger is a poison that does much more damage to the vessel that it's stored in than whatever it is poured on. So a lot of people will think that they can take their anger and direct it at someone or something, and they'll get whatever end goal they're trying to get from that. And that may be true. You might possibly get that end goal that you want because you use that emotion of anger. But in general, it's toxifying your own body by releasing all those stress chemicals. And I know for myself, I've dealt with a lot of anger in my life where I would wake up angry and go to bed angry, and people around me knew that I was angry throughout my life, and I was using that anger to push myself forward. Now, in moments like that, it's completely understandable because feeling something is better than feeling nothing. So if you go from a place of apathy and you move to anger, you actually feel pretty good about yourself. You're like, well, at least I feel something now. And I think that's what a lot of people are going through, is that they don't typically feel anything. So anger is an emotion that they can easily feel, and they use that anger to feel something and to drive them forward. So how do we get around that? Well, you have to discipline yourself, first of all. If you're not disciplining yourself, you really will begin to feel apathetic. You begin to not trust yourself if you say that you're going to do something and you don't do it. And so that can lead to anger a lot of times because you said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. And I know, like myself, I used to run. And I'd call myself all kinds of names, verbally, out loud, with my mouth. I'd be like, I'm a fucking bitch. I'd just lay it out. And I would do that while I was running because I was angry at myself. And sometimes it became kind of comedy to me. Like, I'd be running and I'd be begging to stop. Just like, oh, please, all I want to do is stop. And I was running in the mountains out in Seattle, Washington. So I'd be going up a huge hill just wanting to stop and everything, and I'd get to the top of the hill and I'd be like, yeah, you bitch, you wanted to stop running? So I was on my David Goggins shit back then. But in general, that anger makes us feel something, and a lot of people will default to anger as a sense of power. So they feel powerless, and if they default to anger, they can kind of take some control back in their life and feel some more power, and you'll see them do this with other people. So if someone is trying to control another person and they can't get that control from them, they will show anger towards that person in order to get that control. Because again, anger goes back to fight or flight mode, and it puts us in that I have to fight a bear mode. So if someone else recognizes that you're angry at them, they might become fearful and now comply with what you want to do because they're afraid of physical harm. And so that makes the person that is using that anger get a sense of power. And what that does is that becomes addictive to them because they realize, oh, I got what I want from this person by showing anger. So if I show anger to this person and that person, and they think they can get what they want. Now, eventually they're going to come across someone else who is also angry, and it'll lead to a physical fight. Now, in the physical match, we'll find out what happens, but really nobody wins in a physical fight. If it's just emotionally driven, if it's organized, boxing match, things like that, or two guys are mad at each other and so they both agree, hey, we're going to square up and fight, then there's a fair winner and a fair loser. But if it's just kind of drop of a dime, you get in a bar fight or something, you might have won the physical match, but you lost overall. I know that happened with me. I got in a fist fight when I was drunk, and I broke these two fingers in the fist fight. Intoxicated out of my mind. Now I can't straighten this pinky out like I can this one. So in the end, nobody really wins. I had to go to the doctor, get it casted up and everything, and now everywhere I go, people are asking me, oh, what happened to your fingers? I don't want to tell people, oh, I got in a fight when I was drunk and stuff, so I came up with a story to tell them, and yeah, whatever, you get the idea. Remember, think of anger as a toxin. So it's a toxin that's poisoning you, and it's going to poison your relationships as well, with friends and women. Whatever it is, it's going to poison everything around you, because no one really enjoys being around an angry person. And a lot of times that person that, if you're around someone who is angry all the time and you're unfazed by their anger, you're not intimidated by it, you will recognize that it's actually just a big show of drama, and they're actually a very weak person because they don't have the emotional control over themselves. And it becomes quite annoying to be around them. So if you are that person that has anger, you should learn to control that, because you might not understand that you're trying to use your anger as a sense of power, and there are people that don't respect you for that because they recognize what you're doing. They're not intimidated. Maybe you're like me, you're 5'11", and you get angry all the time, and there's some guy that's 6'5", 250 out here, and he just kind of laughs at you when you're angry. You're literally like a girl when you get angry. It's cute. So you have to learn to control that and overcome it. And that anger, you can feel, it's perfectly fine to feel anger. I still feel anger all the time, but you have to be able to take that energy and channel it. So all of our emotions, the word emotion is energy in motion. So if you're feeling apathetic, you don't get out of bed. That's the thing about emotions. Emotions make you move in life. It's not necessarily this conscious thought. The emotion that you have behind something is what makes you move. And I think you'll see it with politics, that anger is what people use all the time. And those folks, if they truly wanted to be a leader in their political field or whatever they were doing, they could switch that anger to inspiration. If you started moving from a place of inspiration, you would then start bringing other people in, and you would essentially reinvent the wheel in that way by moving from a different emotion and a more positive emotion. Everyone is attracted to positive emotions naturally over negative emotions. So you could win, if you're in a political race and you're running against an angry guy and you're moving from a place of inspiration, you could win your race because of that. You could win your race because you're moving from a more positive state and a less annoyed and aggravated state. And everyone knows that the person that's angry is not rational, naturally. So you've turned off that prefrontal cortex, your amygdala is turned on, you're in fight or flight mode, you're stressed, and stress, again, stress literally pushes blood out of your brain and into your body. Your body is an amazing machine that everything works together. And so you go into that stressed out state, your body is pushing that blood out of your brain and into the rest of your body so that you can fight or flee if you need to. So you're literally not able to think because you're not getting the blood flow to your brain like you should have. Now, it's been shown, there was a 2005 study by a Harvard neuroscientist, Dr. Sarah Lazar, and she showed that folks' amygdalas got smaller. There was much less activity in the amygdala when people went through an 8-week mindfulness meditation course, and all of their parameters for positive thinking, EQ, IQ, emotional balance, mental well-being, everything like that went up for these folks. Naturally, if all these things in your mind go up, you will be a more positive person. Again, everyone is attracted to positivity. So you will begin to attract things in your life that seem unreal to you today. If you start meditating and you move from that positive to negative, your thoughts will naturally go there. There was a Rutgers University study that showed after 2 weeks of mindfulness meditation, folks reduced their cortisol levels by 50% or more on average. So a 50% reduction. So if your cortisol is at 100, you reduced it to 50. That's amazing. 50% reduction in just a couple weeks. And that's just the natural flow, a couple weeks. That's just the natural flow of what mindfulness meditation does. When you get further into it and you get a couple years into it, you begin to consciously and emotionally control things a little bit better in your life as you want to. And that's what we want to move towards, because most of us don't have that control. And there's one thing like the old Spider-Man movie, with great power comes great responsibility. So I've been meditating for 4 years now. I've got over 600 hours. And when I first started, I didn't take the power that I had gotten and I wasn't responsible with it. I had a friend who I knew that we would argue a lot, and it just, even before I started meditating, that's just what we did. We argued a lot. But I knew that I could get him into an emotional state when we argued, and I could basically verbally talk him into a corner or verbally pin him down. And I knew that I could do that, and I took advantage of that if we got into an argument, that I would put him into an emotional state in some way, shape, or form, and then I would verbal judo him to the ground and pin him. And those are, it's great to have that power, because I think at times folks deserve things like that, and folks need that as like a kind of check of reality in their life. But in general, folks don't need that, and it's not a virtue if you don't have the power to do that. So if you don't have the power to know how to put someone into an emotional state with your words, then you're not practicing a virtue when you don't do it. But if you have the power to do it, you are practicing a virtue. And so the thing about life and just the way that God made the world, and however you see it, you can say the universe, consciousness, whatever it is that put us all here, you are rewarded for your virtues. So if you're at a low point in your life and you don't have the money to buy weed, although you really like to buy weed and so you don't smoke weed, it's not a virtue. If you have the money to buy all the drugs in the world that you want to buy and you're completely sober and you don't use any drugs, it's now a virtue that you don't do that, and you will in turn be rewarded for that. And you don't know how you'll be rewarded for it. You could be rewarded in some physical manner, like maybe you got a new car or something like that, but you could just be rewarded with peace in your life. And that's a big thing that a lot of us don't have, is inner peace. I've talked a little bit about the studies that have shown what meditation does. So how does meditation, like from my experience, actually help you with your anger? So you begin, the longer that you sit, and I mean this not in one session, over time, day after day. The longer that you sit and meditate, the more comfortable you become with your own mind. So a lot of us that deal with anger have that inner critic that chatters all the time, and it will anger us because it's talking too much. So you become more comfortable with that, and it's like you form a relationship with it, and you're just kind of like, yeah, my mind's talking right now. It's talking about this or that thing, and it does that every single day. So you have 50,000 thoughts or more every single day. And we've shown that different brainwave states, beta is the fastest. Then we've got alpha, theta, and delta. So you have less thoughts per minute in each one, going from beta to delta being the lowest, less thoughts per minute. So if you are training yourself to sit in that alpha state. Even when you're outside of meditation, you'll be in that alpha state more. You have less thoughts per minute. So this is the compound effect, essentially. This is like, not only do you begin to understand your thoughts, you actually have less thoughts now to understand and deal with. So it just rolls on and on and on. And I know a lot of folks are interested in law of attraction and manifestation and things like that. And you're not going to be very good at attracting what you want or manifesting what you want if your mind is full of the same thoughts every single day. You've got to be able to get beyond those so you can start cultivating the thoughts and the emotions that you want. And I know that was the problem with myself, is anytime I tried to manifest something, I couldn't properly feel the emotions. I could think about it, I could draw the picture in my mind, but I couldn't feel the emotions behind it. So that energy that I spoke about earlier wasn't there to push me forward to go get that thing. Because that's the thing about manifesting, is you're not just going to sit there and attract everything to you. You have to go out and get it as well. It's a 50-50 relationship between you moving towards it and attracting it towards you as well. So as we become more comfortable with our mind and these thoughts, we can begin to understand them a little bit more. We can kind of see into how our mind is ticking and working and what caused that anger. So you might notice you're meditating and you're sitting there and your mind has been wandering for 30 seconds and you didn't know it. And then suddenly you're like, oh, I'm lost. And then you trace it all the way back and you say, what was I thinking about? Oh, I was thinking about this and I was angry. This is the same thing I'm angry about every single day. And then you can trace it back. Eventually you'll be able to trace it back to where it came from. And once you can find the source of where it came from, that's when you can begin to get closure over it. So we could be angry for many things in our lives and we don't know it. You'll see it a lot nowadays, that of course in politics you'll see it and whatever, but you'll see it in relationships too. You'll see that women will be mad at men and they'll blame all men for everything, and they go over that over and over again. And then the same thing with men now. Now we have this whole incel thing going on where men are angry at women, and this red pill thing going on, which is all just out of balance. The red pill and incels and stuff, it's a reaction to feminism. That's exactly what it is, and it's an emotional reaction that is not coming from a positive place. That's why there's typically not a positive response to it, because both sides of the spectrum are out of balance. So feminism in the modern era is way out of balance. It's nonsense. Red pill, MGTOW, all this stuff is out of balance. It's nonsense. So if you want, because of that, because we've got, if a relationship is important to you, because we've got women that are out of balance and men that are out of balance, it's very difficult to come together and find a good relationship. So it would behoove you to learn to meditate, control yourself, and find that balance within yourself. So you can find some peace within yourself, but also you can move through this nonsense and you can find your partner, you can find that woman that you're looking for, or that man that you're looking for, that would benefit you in your life, and they would be a more balanced person. Or maybe they're a little bit off here or there, and you can bring them back to a more central state of balance. I've been able to do that. I dated a girl when I was 21 who was a self-proclaimed feminist, and she knew that I thought it was nonsense from the very beginning, but we still dated. And one day we were sitting on her balcony, and I had my shirt off. It's Texas, hot summer sun. I'm facing the parking lot and the sun, and she's facing me, which is her apartment, and her back is to the parking lot. And she said something like, well, I wish I could have my shirt off in the sun. And I said, you can. Take it off. And mind you, this girl has big boobs. So she does. She takes her shirt off, and she laid it down. And so I'm here to prove a point. I pick her shirt up and I throw it inside the apartment and close the door. So now her shirt's on the living room floor. She's sitting with her back to the parking lot and I'm facing her. And we're just sitting there. And then I hear a car coming down the road behind us and I hear them slowing down. And I know they're getting ready to turn into the parking lot. She doesn't hear the car. So I'm watching all of this unfold in slow motion. And she doesn't hear the car. The car turns into the parking lot. Now she hears it. She heard it when it turned into the parking lot. And she gets up, she runs inside, she puts her shirt on, and she comes back outside. And so then we talked about it. Okay, so obviously it's not men that oppressed you and told you to put a shirt on. Obviously you want to put a shirt on. So whatever. I didn't have any type of reaction. I think that's the common thing you would see nowadays is some guy would be red-pilled or MGTOW'd or incel, whatever the bullshit he's on. He would be on that, and if a girl said something like that, like I should be able to take my shirt off in public, he would have an emotional reaction of anger, and it would not solve anything. So because I didn't do that, because I was calm and I just let things play out as they did, this girl now understood that it was not me that was telling her to put a shirt on. She wants to put a shirt on and cover herself up. So we need to be able to control our anger. You can get what you want more from life if you can have emotional control. The science has shown this, that the folks that are really successful have a high EQ. They have a high emotional intelligence. They're the ones that get promoted. It's not because of your IQ. We all know this. My own brother has a higher IQ than I do, but he has a lower EQ than I do. I have better relationships than he does, and I've gone further in my life than he has because of this. And I have a lot more peace. It is what it is. So work on that. Work on controlling your anger. Work on understanding your thoughts and narrowing it down as to why you get angry. And the thing about it is, if you do get angry, learn how to channel it into something. So now for me, when I get angry, I put it into my work all the time. And a lot of times I get angry while I'm working out. So that's a really good one for me, is that I know that when I go to the gym, I can go to war with myself. So those parts of myself that I'm not happy with and I'm not satisfied with, I can go into the gym and I don't care, I want to be aesthetic, I want to have gains and stuff, but I don't care about all that stuff too much. If I go in there and it takes me an hour and a half to get those things worked out of me, to get those emotions out and get that stuff out of my mind, it takes an hour and a half. I do not care about my recovery. I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to eat food, everything will be fine, my body's going to look great no matter what. So do that. Learn that. Learn that there's something you can channel this emotion into, and learn how to do that instead of just letting it go out everywhere. It's going to mess your life up. So I hope you found value in this video and that I've given you some things to think about or told you some things that you've never thought about before. If I have, please hit that like button. Comment down below what you want me to speak about in the future. I will also have my email linked below if you want to do a consultation call. Other than that, thank you for being here, and always remember, meditation over medication.